beat to death at a town hall meeting, and she was giving it right back to her constituents. If I came down to the 14th District of Texas and sat in the back of the room, and you'd start talking about health care, and everybody'd say, get the government out of it, and then Ron Paul would say, but wait, how many in the room are getting government health care? What, 2/3 of the hands would go up? I think of George Will's idea in the Washington Post, this idea that people want 2009 health care at 1960s prices. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the mentality that we have created, and I think it's the moral hazard of getting people, generations of people, believing that government will take care of us, that they can give us our medical care and our education, and deficits don't matter. But I think it's there's something going on bigger than that, because when I talk to young people and talk about this, they're much more aware. I mean, if you're 65 and getting the benefits,
right.
But then that's a different story. But the young people, when I go to college campuses, believe me, the message I have is very well received.
Within the price theory of Austrian economics, then, how do you put incentives into the system? What is the Paul prescription, Dr. Paul, to get the right incentives in place?
Well, it should be, everything. Doctors should. I think most doctors actually start off with a high moral effort to care for people, and then they also come around to believing that they can make a good living and deserve a good living. But it should be honesty. It should be doing your work and doing the job and having satisfaction from it. And once the government gets involved, everybody gets careless. Everybody gets charged the maximum amount. Everybody is put onto the government rolls if possible. And then people bend a little bit. They order too many tests for various reasons. Sometimes it's fear of litigation. And then you do find doctors who will become corrupt and corrupt the system. It invites that. And laboratories, big laboratories come in and they close down little laboratories. The laws were written to close down my lab in my little clinic because they said I wouldn't give good enough service, but I gave better service and cheaper service and more convenient. Oh, the big labs come in. So it's all of this that causes so much trouble, and you need to get rid of it. You need the doctor-patient relationship restored and get the third-party payers out of the middle.
Jack Kemp was on my program. This is a good time before his illness that ended his life. And in the middle, in the heat of it, the congressman from Buffalo said, look, what we've got to do is get the Southerners out of the Republican Party. And I'm paraphrasing there, folks. But he made a real statement, which I've heard other times on this program, about a certain future of the Republican Party. What is the Ron Paul future of the Republican Party? Is it got to do with a regionalization or a philosophy?
I never think about the Republican Party. The parties are just vehicles. They should be just vehicles to promote a certain cause, and some promote big government, and I promote liberty, and it's the most convenient vehicle that I have right now. The two-party system doesn't exist. There's only one party. I mean, both parties expand the role of government in medical care. Both, expand and protect the Federal Reserve monetary paper money system. Both pursue an international interventionist foreign policy and protect the military-industrial complex. But the Republican Party, if it incidentally comes around to improving itself by defending liberty and the Constitution, fine and dandy. But if our revolution that we're involved in right now is successful, the ideas will be pervasive. Instead of saying we're all Keynesians now, we might end up saying we're all Misesians now, we're all Austrian economists now, we all believe in freedom now. And the Democrats and the Republicans would both reflect these views. That's the only thing that's important. The parties are incidental.
From where you sit, as a unique voice within Washington, even I think your opponents, your vocal opponents would agree with it, that it's a unique voice. What is the mechanism to get away from this oneness you speak of? Is it to change lobbying? Is it to change congressional districts into some kind of sane geography? Is there a Paul constitutional prescription to get us back to a certain two-party or three-party debate?
I think going after the lobbyists and the money, influence elections is the wrong way to do it. McCain, Feingold, and all this stuff. You're treating a symptom, so that is. And besides, we have an absolute right to petition our government. It's the fact that the government is too big and they pass out favors so they can be bought, and we have too many lacking character that gets involved in politics. The only thing that counts is a prevailing attitude about government. What is the prevailing attitude? Whether we should live in a free country or a socialized country in an authoritarian system. And it's educational. I think politicians, in even what I do in politics, in a narrow sense, isn't all that important as much as contributing to an idea that people have to accept. So it's education that really counts, and that's why I emphasize studying economics and studying our history and studying the principles of liberty that the founders understood. That's the only thing that will make a difference.
We've had global economic slowdown. Does the rest of the world need the United States to have an economic recovery?
Oh, they wouldn't have to, but it certainly would help. I mean, the healthier we are, the healthier the world will be. And if we return to sound economic policy, sound money, personal liberties, and minded our own business, we would have a greater influence on the world in a positive sense, because people would want to say, well, how are they doing it? And they would want to emulate us. So it would be very beneficial. But if we continue down the path that we're going and they change their path, I mean, just think right now, the shift in the last 20 years between China and the difference between China and the United States. China's become more capitalistic. They're our banker. They loan us money. They save money. They're investing in Iran and buying up oil wells. At the same time, we just run up debt and go shooting and killing people and getting ourselves in more trouble. So, yes, the world could get along quite well without us. Just now, this election in Japan is indicating they'd like to get along without us as well, I think.
You just mentioned personal liberties. They don't have to worry about that, do they? They're playing by a different liberty playbook over there, aren't they?
In China?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're far from ideal, but they have more economic liberty than they used to have, and it's easy to start a business over there. Business people tell me that they go to China because they can open up business 3 weeks, and in the United States it might take 3 years and cost millions and millions of dollars to go through the permitting process. I mean, we're so far removed from free markets that, yes, China could go a long way, but we're far from perfect with protecting personal liberties in this country. I mean, we're on principle, they're very careless with habeas corpus and some of these secret courts and how much privacy we've lost in this country since 9/11. I mean, we're going in the wrong direction for personal liberty, and I suspect that as they understand the free market system in China, they'll probably end up with more personal liberty than we have.
To bring it back to the Federal Reserve here in our final minutes, when you look at H.R. 1207 and the efforts you're trying to make, do you support the renomination of Chairman Bernanke?
Oh, I'd probably vote against it, but I don't have any strong feelings.
Who would you like to see as chairman of the Fed?
See, I don't care about, I don't want the Fed, and if you don't have Bernanke, you're going to have somebody else that believes the same thing, central economic planning by manipulation of interest rates and monetizing debt.
Well, then do you support a targeted rate, a Taylor rule, a very strict interpretation of rate?
I don't want them to even think about setting rates. I want the market to set the rates, because I think price fixing is very bad. Price fixing, when you have wage and price controls, it turns you into a socialist system, because the prices tell you everything about what you should do with supply and demand. But if you do, we have accepted this idea for decades that it's okay to have the Federal Reserve interfere and have lower interest rates than you should have, and that's the source of the financial bubble.
Has the Fed provided a great moderation?
No, they've created the greatest bubble in the history of mankind, and others around the world have followed. Because of our perceived strength in the dollar being the world currency, we've actually literally been able to export our dollars as if they were gold, and they took those dollars and they inflated their system. So even though I was talking a bit in a positive way about China, they have a financial bubble over there too, because they've taken our dollars and they've monetized our debt.
Out of Gettysburg College and Duke Medical School, he is the 14th District Congressman from Texas. Ron Paul, thanks.